Our next speaker is Cheryl Robie. She is a representative of the Constitutional Coalition. I'm sure most of you have heard of Donna Hearn. She has worked in politics in the St. Louis area for many, many years. She publishes the Frontline magazine on a regular basis. And she has a new program, it's called the Game Changer, a 10-step program, and Cheryl Robie is here to explain it to us.
Okay, can I get some for the same?
We need a here to help us.
All right.
I don't know.
Does the video need sound?
Yes. Well, good morning, dear friends. I feel like I am among dear friends and family. I mean, we all have the same vision and the same commitment, I hope, to take our country back. And my name is Cheryl Robie, and I do work with Donna in the Constitutional Coalition. I'm going to play for you a CD that is the introduction to a set of CDs that Donna has put together. And it's available for purchase if you wish, but there's more. I've been given permission by Donna to give it to you for free if you will commit to having people over into your house or actually what she would like us to do is to invite people from our friends, our neighbors, our church people, people that we know that are not involved in the political process, or they've fallen off, or they've lost hope, or they've lost heart, and we want to re-energize them.
10 steps for freedom.
I will be quiet. But anyway, I think I will be quiet for now, and then I'll just jump back in after you have seen this, and then it will make a lot more sense once you've seen this. So, go ahead and, it's just the introduction, and basically it's an
10 steps for freedom. What is it? America coming together, home by home, to build a critical mass of understanding of the clear and present dangers to America, the blessings of liberty and freedom, and the hope of a better future. Here's how it works. It starts with 5 films.
We need to recognize the threats that are out there, and the threat of ballistic missile attack is real.
The longest times are typically around 30 to 33 minutes for a long-range missile from North Korea to the United States or from Iran to the United States.
So imagine instead of planes, if this had been a nuclear weapon on a ballistic missile and it had detonated just a few thousand feet above our heads.
If someone exploded a high-altitude nuclear weapon over the United States, the electromagnetic pulse would affect all the electronics within line of sight of that bird. Medical services wouldn't be available because they needed electric power. Telephones wouldn't work. The traffic lights would stop working. Big traffic jam. Transportation would be shut down.
So when all else fails, when all the negotiations have broken down, when there is a missile in the air, you have to have the ability to destroy it. Because the only other ability that you would have would be to apologize to those that died.
The entire Roman economy was built on slave labor. If you were born a slave, your average lifespan in Rome was about 20 years, and they would just simply work to death.
The idea that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their creator with certain rights is not at all a new idea. It is, in fact, as the phrasing indicates, it is in the creation story.
The French Revolution had no moral order beyond convention, beyond consensus of the National Assembly. When you take God out of the picture, you take this notion of higher law, of the whole framework for ordered liberty out of the picture.
Think of what a scandal it would be if we were to say the abolitionists should have kept their Christian faith out of the struggle against slavery.
To understand how the freedom project in the modern world emerges not in China, not in India, not in the Islamic world, but in Europe, and in Europe's child, America, then we have to come to grips with the biblical part of the foundation of Western civilization.
Without the entrepreneur, economies are barren. They're dead.
When we think about God, the very first thing we know about God was that He created something.
What you must do is focus on what other people need, want, desire, and try to serve it better or in a new way, value added in a way nobody else has. So in that sense, an entrepreneur must be other directed. You must be watching your fellow human beings.
When God fashions man from the dust of the earth and breathes into him the breath of life and speaks those first words of vocation to the human family, he in effect is inviting the human family to be co-creators with him, not co in the sense of equal, but co in the sense of cooperating, working with him in the continuation of the creation of the world. What an awesome vocation that is.
When I saw the second airplane hit, I knew jihad has come to America.
They see all of these not as specific wars, but as fronts in a global jihad.
Most people don't realize that Muslims are also victims. Because if they disagree, they get killed.
We've been infiltrated by people who want the Quran to replace our constitution. The propaganda of Islam is very similar to the propaganda of Nazism. It's the same hate speech.
Little kids being taught silence. I want to be a suicide bomber.
It is the duty of all moderate Muslims to stand up and speak against the hate, to speak against the jihad.
إن هؤلاء أيها الإخوة الكرام هم من أعداء الإسلام.
Ultimately, the price we're talking about is the price of freedom.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the sky. It's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war. But there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second. Surrender. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of men on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. The story isn't over. You and the audience are part of the conflict.
So what can one person do? Seemingly, not much. But what if one person invited 5 friends for pizza in one of these movies? And what if they invited 5 friends to watch the films? And they invited 5 friends. 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 That's almost 10 million people. And what if 10 million people chose to keep themselves informed daily through accurate websites, television and talk radio, newspapers and magazines, and they began to understand? What if 10 million people chose to pray for our country and our leaders? What if 10 million people chose to join together with other like-minded individuals to make their voices effectively heard in the community, media, and the legislatures? What if 10 million people chose to get to know those shaping public policy by developing friendly relationships with them and helping them to understand the dangers to America and our heritage and strengths. So what if 10 million people chose to act? Washington had only 2,500 soldiers to cross the Delaware that Christmas of 1776. As Thomas Paine wrote that Christmas, these are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in this crisis shrink from the service of his country. But he that stands now deserves the love of man and woman. 5 films, 5 steps equals 10 steps for freedom. A groundswell like this is not just possible, it's probable if each of us is willing to take 10 simple steps for freedom. And it starts with one person, you. Will you stand now with us, home by home, building a critical mass of understanding of the clear and present dangers to America, the blessings of liberty and freedom, and the hope of a better future? At this time in our nation's history, your country needs your involvement. It's time.
Okay, so there you have it. I realize I'm probably talking to the choir here, that this is a very simple thing to do. We all love our country, we all want to change it, we want to bring it back. I would like to make you aware of a list that Donna has of, and this may address to the concern that you were talking about. It's called Game Changer, a list of 50 to 100,000 people in the state of Missouri that sat out the last election. They either have not registered or they just sat it out. So we have, through some national organizations, they have compiled this list of Missouri voters, and we can sort it by zip code. And if each of us take our zip code and these 10 steps to freedom, we can educate these people, and maybe, just maybe, we can revitalize them, re-energize them, and bring them back into, give them the passion that we all feel. And then send them out with the same tool. And just, you saw how that multiplies. Just 5, inviting 5, inviting 5, inviting 5. But we just want to make sure that you show these films before you register them to vote. We want to make sure that they are on the same page with us. Yeah, registering voters without educating them is not a healthy long-term goal. So again, I have been given permission by Donna to tell you that if you would commit to showing these films, and as Bill said, October 10th is the critical date. We can't dilly-dally. We need to get these into your hands and get them shown, probably the first 2, possibly like in August, and then really hit it hard before October 10th.
A question?
Yes.
Are there 10 different films?
No, ma'am. There are 5, and I will show them to you. The first one, of course, is the 33 minutes, and he was talking about how a missile, it's, people think it'll take 12 hours to get to us. It'll take 33 minutes to get to us. We are not as safe as we have thought. And then, of course, The Birth of Freedom is another one. The Call of the Entrepreneur is the other one. The Obsession, and then In the Face of Evil. There are 5.
About how long is each one?
This one is the shortest, but the rest of them are about an hour, maybe a little bit more.
So somehow we've got to get them to come back to.
Exactly, but food is love. So what we would suggest is you invite your friends, your neighbors, whoever, maybe even in the basement of your church. I mean, obviously, the more people that see this, the more the word will get out, and maybe they will invite other people even to the following film. Have pizza, if that doesn't work for you, I mean, do a breakfast or a brunch kind of a thing. I mean, Ted Drew's, I mean, absolutely.
And public libraries.
I imagine you could.
You can't do that because some people don't want to have, people, like I have a very small house.
Right.
I couldn't really put, I could put 5 maybe. But I mean,
Exactly, but obviously the more the better. So then you can just send out an email blast and just say, come for coffee and donuts, come for Ted Drew's, and watch these films.
And you can take food into the library.
Oh, I did not know that. I thought we were not.
Usually, well, you have to.
Like in a room.
Is it recommended to have it in that order that you showed us?
Yes, yeah. Also, the wonderful thing about this is that there are, as the leader of this, I mean, there are words that are like kind of a teacher's guide kind of a thing to guide you through. There are questions for discussion afterwards, because the idea is to engage them and get them interested.
Is it strictly, I mean, is it recommended for adults? I mean,
Yes, I would say so. Lois, did you have something?
Well, I was just going to say, I've talked to Dan Haidt, who runs the Pillar Foundation. He uses another film instead of the one on Islam, Obsession, for children, because there's a very graphic scene of a beheading in Obsession. So he's got another one that I think they're going to try and get out next weekend. But the point of doing it in your home, and if you live in a small place where, 4 or 5 people, is trying to get this country back where we were during the time of World War II, when we didn't have computers, when people talk to their neighbors. We no longer talk to our neighbors. And this is really important that we start bringing this country back together.
And you're right.
And that's the reason for doing it in your home.
In the neighborhood.
Yes.
Right.
I do have something to pass out if you'd like to. I also have a copy of the front line for you to, you can pass those out as well, and I can help pass these out.
Hot off the press. Just came from the printer yesterday.
Pass this around, a sign-up sheet. All right. I would also like to pass around a sign-up sheet if you'd be willing to post these films. I'll send this around. I would need your name, your email address, and your phone number. Yes, ma'am.
Cheryl, I want to say that I have done those in my home.
Oh, yes?
And it's, and I want to speak to the same points about it's a long-term process. I have now a prayer group. There are 5 of us, and we started out, we did the Truth Project twice, which if you'll know is a 13 DVD. We did the Constitutional Coalition, and now this is a group of women, and we are praying for our nation and our families. So that is one piece of the 10 steps.
Right.
And these movies are excellent.
Yes, thank you for that.
I'm not sure it grew, but I can tell you, again, long-term, that the ideas of some of these women are changing.
Right, good, and that's it. It's all about education, and the more we can educate, the better. So, thank you for this.
Rita? The question was about adults. I don't know if anybody else saw Bill Bennett on C-SPAN 3 the other night. He was addressing conservatives in Denver, Colorado. And basically, he put the nail in the heart of the matter, is that the young people in this country do not know who we are. And so I would like to encourage you to find an outlet in the high schools to try to show some of these films. The young people do not know what made this country great. And so I think we gotta reach the young people.
Excellent idea. Yes? She's the perfect person
Yeah,
for the
I
young
did.
people.
I'd like to talk to, for just a second, about a year or two ago, a group of us were got together and decided we were going to reach the middle school kids and a little bit below. And we found a website in Kentucky, and there it was like a vacation Bible school. We called it Vacation Liberty School. And we were teaching about the Founding Fathers and our country based on faith, hope, and charity. And last year it was a pilot and it worked out really well. This year we didn't do our PR right. We've got to work on it and get it going. I suggested we even do it like one night in the week for adults because it was an unbelievable. I mean, I've taught history for years and years and years, and this was an eye-opener. I thought I'd been taught everything, and I hadn't been taught everything. But the kids pick up the idea. They learn about economics, they learn about inflation, and some of the comments were, I know, and when we go back tomorrow, if we don't buy it today, it'll be inflated tomorrow, because they get these little nuggets that are for money. There's the economic game where they learn that. I heard one person say, well, wait a minute, no, wait a minute, I earned all those. Why should I give half of mine to her? She didn't do anything. We're like, exactly. So we are planning on doing this again. We're trying to decide whether we need to do it in the fall, like one night a week for 5 weeks, etc. But this is my call. I have had a blast. I get to dress up like Betsy Ross, you know, and we run it like as a school, but there's so much interactive stuff. The kids loved it. Even the one whose mother forced him to come because she worked there, he loves it.
What's the name of this program?
It's called, we call it Vacation Liberty School.
You call it, but you...
BLS.
Okay, so is that a website?
It is a website.
Okay, so...
Yeah, and I don't have it. Let's see, if I can find, let's see. I have it on-
Thank you, Margaret. Maybe you can talk
Very,
to
very
people
careful.
later.
We'll Google it and tell you in a minute.
Yeah, I will.
We sort of kind of need to move along, and Val wants to make a comment. You have 1 minute, Val.
I'm working very hard. I'm very passionate. The Lord has put this on my heart, and I'm like Debbie said, when the Lord does something to you, you're so full of it that you feel like you're going to explode. This is about Constitutional Amendment 2. You can take this to your churches, which I have done. My Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod, is going all out with me, and then I'm going to other churches. And it's not political. We want Democrats and Republicans both, and all of these to be concerned about this. Have you heard, do you know what is on the proposition? I'll read it real quickly. We shall Missouri, the state constitution be amended to ensure that the right of Missouri citizens to express their religious beliefs shall be not infringed upon, and that school children have the right to pray and acknowledge God voluntarily in their schools, and that all public schools shall display the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution. And my pastor is fully behind me. His secretary and I made a poster. We're posting these all over our church. He's going to be talking about it, and they're certainly behind you. So please go to the churches. This is not a political matter, and so there's no reason to be afraid of it. And CWA has a political guideline for pastors, and it explains to you how much time and money and projects you can legally spend. 5% is a very safe percentage of your time and money or whatever. And certainly this is not going to take any more than 5. That couldn't take 5% of anything in churches. So go to your church pastors and talk to them and tell them about this. And I've written this little letter about them to give to them about. And so
please do, it's urgent. Just imagine what this would mean if the whole country could know that Missouri passed this amendment. And I'm just so proud that it got on. It was a legislative thing, Robie Carnahan couldn't touch it to reword it. It's the way the legislators wanted it to be. And we're so blessed to have some Christian legislators in Missouri who will promote this. They worked very hard. And it's a step to restore part of the religious freedom that the liberals have taken away from us. So please, do all you can to publicize and get people out to vote yes on Amendment 2.
Thanks, Val. I'm sure you all know I'm Frida Keogh. I'm one of the MOPP ladies. One of the goals, the goals of MOPP are to get people involved at the grassroots level. Increase voter registration, increase voter turnout, get people involved in their local communities, make sure they're part of their local governance again. We have gotten totally away from that. So we brought people here today that will talk about all these things, and I think so far we've already heard very encouraging suggestions of what we can do. I was going to talk a little bit about voter fraud and poll working, but I'm going to move on to our next speaker who is here from True the Vote. In Texas, True the Vote has done a phenomenal job. They were very active in the Wisconsin recall election. After the 2010 election, I was tasked by Ed Martin to figure out why he lost by 4,000 votes. And I did some research, and I found out at the time that we have duplicate voters between duplicate registrations and duplicate voters between St. Louis City and St. Louis County. But all of it together didn't make enough of an impact to change his election, so nobody wanted to work on it. Well, I am so glad True the Vote is going to help us clear up our voter rolls.